Hi, I'm Kelvin Green. I just did the Jocelyn King Smarter Online Safety podcast. We had a great time. We discussed mental health for children and we also discussed online safety. We came up with some great tips during our discussion. We talked about a lot about how parents can integrate more with their children to make online safety a family thing. We talked about how some of the things online are more dangerous for children with special needs. And we also talked about, well, just the future of family life online and how you move forward with it. With that being said, I definitely suggest if you want to learn more about how to be safe online and keep your children safe online, you give it a watch.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Smarter Online Safety Podcast. I'm your host, Jocelyn King, and I am thrilled to be here with you today, bringing you a very special person on a very special topic. In honor of Children's Mental Health Week, I wanted to bring in Kelvin Green. He is a mental health advocate as well as a cybersecurity expert with the goal of helping people foster joy through self-understanding. He's a cybersecurity advisor who has won multiple awards to include President's Club. And along with his wife, he started Cybersec And I, CSAI, as you see above his head, which is an advisory company focusing on utilizing user and entity behavioral analytics, UEBA, we call it, and artificial intelligence with the goal of helping organizations be more secure in this ever-evolving digital world. He's focused on small and mid-sized businesses in the healthcare industry, and he is an advocate for children, both from a cybersecurity perspective and especially, children are already so targeted, also helping those with mental health issues who are even more vulnerable on the internet. So welcome, Kelvin. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Glad to be here.
So tell people a little bit about your background. Now, you also, not for nothings, served in the Navy. You were an early Tetris game tester as an engineer. You've done all kinds of things in your career. And you want to talk a little bit about, what you do with your cybersecurity side, and then we'll talk about what you do with kids.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'll start with myself as a kid and how I got here. So one, those kids with that extra needs or special needs, I'm one of them. With that being said, I wasn't diagnosed when I was an adult, so I spent my whole life bouncing around in circles. So why was I a game tester? Probably the same reason that I was working for different government agencies or other agencies doing security, IT, networking, programming, you name it. I did it. With that being said, well, if I wanted to do it, and the reason why is because I had to keep my brain occupied, and like a lot of kids today, that was my method. The internet, computers, and I learned a lot there. So that's my connection there.
Wow, that is so great. And thank you for your service and all that you've done for, us as a country. And also how great, and no, and I have special needs in my family and have a lot of friends who are on the spectrum and everything. And so between neurodiversity and also just mental health and emotional health issues and stuff, there's a real vulnerability there. And you mentioned that you weren't diagnosed till you were an adult, so you had this incredible superpower as a kid and as an adult, but you also had you also had a greater vulnerability as a child. You want And I think, is that why you're an advocate for kids today as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because it's the thing is that I feel that, like a lot of people, I'm sure, you look back and you say, I wish I did this. I wish
Mm.
I did that. And they're like, well, I learned since you can never go back in time, you can only change the future. Well, really today. And it was like, well, why would I put something on my child or anybody's child that they're going to grow up and say, I wish this didn't happen or this contributed to my negative experience in the world. So I believe that is very important to help children. So I'm for that cause.
That's great. For people, everyone listening, whether they have their own kids, everybody has kids in their life. And obviously kids are the next generation. And for people who aren't really connected to kids, it's the kids are going to be running the country when you're retired. And indirectly or directly taking care of you. So we all need to value our kids. What are some of the biggest challenges and threats out there that you see for kids from a cybersecurity perspective and a physical safety perspective, especially when they have mental health needs?
Yep. So it's your identity. So one thing that happens when you're a kid without special needs, that it's not advantageous necessarily, but you're more cognizant of what you say. Meaning, and people are more enforceful in telling you what to say and when not to say the way they treat you. So kids learn by what we teach them. So what we do, not what we say, right?
Yeah,
And so it that kid will be more prone to give out information. And in a world where your identity can be stolen, because one of the big things that we have a concern with online now is identity theft.
right,
Think about it. Right
right,
now, if somebody tried to fake you Jocelyn King, they could look at all the podcasts of Jocelyn. I can see how you move, how you smile, how you talk, everything you do.
right.
Well, what if I had the information about you since you was a kid?
Mm,
Man, it's almost as though I can know you better than you because you have to sleep. You can process but so much. You don't even have the same memory. Well, that computer that can look at all of your data, it can learn everything about you and emulate you all the way up until you turn 18 and start getting more credit cards and more things in your name. Heck, it can even do things that's a poly like that become normal to you because, well, it was baked in since you was a kid. So yeah.
Well, and there's so much where kids' social security numbers are stolen and used. And even if it's not used with their real name, their social security number is used with another name, but it's the devastation and the debt and everything else is associated with their social security number. So they go to apply for college or an apartment or a job or a first car, and they find out they're in debt, or they have some big mar on their thing, and they're, so that's one thing that I know we have to protect our kids from is I think
Yeah,
most people
I met,
have.
I met a guy who was in that exact situation where exactly what you said, where he was like, "Hey, somebody stole my identity and they racked up a bunch of debt in
Yeah,
his name." And he was just unaware. I guess they paid the bills for a couple months. And then one day he's like, I get this call, collections. I go get my credit report, and he's like, nightmare. And he's like, I didn't do anything, but he's starting to feel like it's hard for him to like keep his life in balance because they literally just offset him. Now, I don't know if he recovered, but it's
yeah, yeah.
scary.
Well, and for everybody, and I went through this. I went through this myself, which is how I got into cybersecurity. But when you're under cyber attack, short term, and one-time event or long term, like I went through, it takes such a mental and emotional toll. So not only are you imagine trying to deal with credit agencies about the fact that this is not your debt, especially if it's been going on for a while. If it just happened last week, time is a real factor in how easy it is to overcome this. If this is something that happened 2 years ago or 5 years ago, it's all the harder. The longer you wait, until you find out, the harder it is to recover. But then you add the emotional and mental stress that comes along with that, and it's so hard. And then there's also normal people, meaning not, sociopaths, often feel some kind of guilt or shame that why didn't I catch this or something? So you add all that on. That's a lot of emotional and mental stress to a situation that's already stressful. And then now if we add in that you're a special needs young adult or a child, you've got to have the help to do this. So what should adults be doing? I mean, they should be helping, young people in their life, whether they're 10 years old or teenagers, right? They should be helping them make sure they've got their social security number. A lot of hospitals even have that going when you're born now these days, but there are still the occasional who don't have it. So you want to check your social security number. You want to make sure you're not having your social security number being used for credit. So even if you're underage, you need to be looking at your credit report with your credit with the big three agencies, correct?
Yep. So absolutely. So you got it right. So the first thing is that you got it's like put it as a part of self-care now. So back in the day it was like, hey, wash behind your ears. Well, now let's go check your social security number, right? Like it's if you
Yeah.
don't do it, you should not assume that it's not going to happen. Assume that it's going to happen. If it didn't happen yet, assume that it's going to happen. There is no reason in the world for it to not happen. So
Right.
with that being said, you
Right.
got to perform those things as a part of your hygiene. So checking up with yourself, and in terms of sharing that information, well, that's a great start. As you know, kids learn from what we do and not what we say. So if you want
Yeah.
them to check their social security numbers when they get older, if you want them to take their online security safety as critical matter important, you have to do it too. So start today. But no, I mean, really, like if you do the things where you're making sure that your system is secure, you're making sure that you're changing your password, everything that you want your child to do, you have to do it and ideally do it in front of them. That
I love
way, the same time that you're knocking out the task of doing it for yourself, you're making it a routine for them. That way, they will gain that habit from you. They say, I will do this like my parents.
That is such great advice, and it's one of those things that's hidden in plain sight. I hadn't even thought of it being that specific, that it makes total sense. When you get your credit report and get your child's credit report, you sit down together and you say, okay, we're going to look at these, and this is what we're looking for, because, it's just like the way you teach your kids how to cross the street safely and not to get in cars with strangers or take candy from strangers. This has to be added to that, especially in the digital age, because there is far more likelihood of a digital cyber attack to your child than a physical attack to your child. So, oh, that is a
Yeah,
great tip. Do it with your child. So, and you know what? For a lot of adults, let's face it, many people, adults, who procrastinate or put things off. This is a great discipline. This is that accountability partner model where you're checking your own to help your child. And if you don't have kids, you can do it, with a nephew or
a
niece,
friend, and yep,
or
there you go.
you're an honorary godparent or an actual godparent, or kids in your neighborhood, or whatever. But you can just make sure that you're helping take care of them and share these tips with their parents as well. I love that. That is so great. Have you run into circumstances with kids with special needs being targeted, and any stories or advice you could share there?
So I can't necessarily say them being targeted specifically. What I will say is uh, the internet or society, but the internet is structured in a way to exploit you, right? So if somebody has any on the spectrum and they're more exploitable,
Right.
then you can. That's why I say you can define it that way. So I don't want to say that way, but if you put cheese on a trap,
Yes.
if you tell me to go get it, I'm not going to go get it. But if you put a mouse there and you know the mouse likes cheese, the mouse is definitely going to go to get it. If I was
That
really hungry, I'd take that cheese too. So what I'm trying to say is that it's more alluring to
right.
to give information and be exploited to the children on the spectrum than it is for children who are not.
Okay, because they also know what the cheese is for kids, and it's not
Bingo.
something that's necessarily going to attract you or I, but it's going to be their favorite Stitch character, or something that lures them in. I when I'm out and about, I see so many kids, um, you know, toddlers and older, in like strollers or sitting down or something, but they're either on a phone or they're on a tablet. And the tablet and the phone has become the new babysitter. So, parents are in a 1 hour appointment, you know, um, and the kids are, they're sitting, out in the waiting room, or outside, or in the car, or wherever, and they've got a 1 hour digital babysitter. What controls do parents need to be thinking about to help protect who they're getting access to, and more importantly, who's getting access to their children?
Oh, you just asked the scariest question in the world. So up front, there's no easy answer. What I'm going to tell you is that it is scary, it is dangerous, and all kinds of things can happen. With that being said, my son absolutely has a tablet, and I wish you would tell me to take it away because it's a babysitter. No, so no,
Uh,
I mean, so in general, you do want to apply like basic security, like you want to make sure that they're authenticating and all that kind of good stuff, but it's not really going to stop us so much. And I will tell you what you really want to achieve in there. You want to know, you want them to tell you what they're doing.
Right.
So it's kind of tricky. You
Yeah.
can get information from the system. And I suggest that you consider doing that, meaning the ability to audit applications being installed, i.e., if somebody installs something on the phone, you might want to know because they might install that Snapchat and uninstall it, and you might want to know what happened. So
Right.
there's certain things that you want to get visibility into. But in general, the best thing you can do is get them to show you what they're doing. So take interest in what they're doing on those tablets and those devices. I
So
mean, I
the
get
way
it.
people ask what happened at school today, you also want to say, "Oh, what did you do online today? What did you find
Who
out?" And do it from not a sense of show me what you did, where they're going to hide it from you, but like a curiosity, so that they want to share with you what they're learning, and then you can judge for yourself if it's looks harmless or looks suspicious.
Bingo. So my wife and I, we audited our son's apps being installed, and then when he installs the app, I didn't stop him from installing them. Let him
Right.
install them.
Right.
They never got blocked. I just know what he installed.
That's great.
Nothing was blocked. Then I would say, hey, let's talk about the devices and what are you installing and what are you doing? What are you using this for? Who are you talking to there? I never stopped him from doing the things. I said, tell me what the goal is. What are you talking about? What are your objectives?
Right.
That way he understands to evaluate what he's doing there because I can't really keep him 100% safe. I can't keep
Right.
myself 100% safe.
Right.
So I'm
You're a
just sharing
cybersecurity
my,
professional, so everybody listening, just know that's the world we live in. Yes.
yes, it's the truth. And so I'm trying to give him the knowledge. So like you and I, we have knowledge. Like you've gained your experience and you're sharing it with others. When you train someone else, you're sharing your knowledge. And so
Right.
I'm just saying in the same fashion, share it with your kids. So
Okay.
learn it yourself, share it with your kid. They're going to need it.
Right. Right. One of the things we're going to be doing is putting out some, how-to videos for parents as well, specifically that they could walk through with their kids and have that be something. So that's something people can sign up to subscribe to and then get notified of. But it's so important. You're talking about what is great, which is the human parental controls, which is usually overlooked. A lot of people, they just think of parental controls on the devices themselves. And so obviously, yes, you want to turn on parental controls and you want to set the security settings on high, which a lot of adults we won't do because it makes it more difficult to get to the actual websites and apps we're trying to do. But it's really an imperative that you have extremely high or very high settings for your kids, because then if they can't download an app or something they want, there might be a good reason why you don't want them to download that. So if they're coming to you,
Well, I would
you're going to know what they're doing.
absolutely. I would say for the younger kids.
Yeah.
So first off, the younger they are, the higher. Like turn everything on.
Yeah. Directly
The,
in
the
proportion. Young,
Yeah,
young is
I should have
highest.
said that. Yeah, I should have said that. My son is 13.
Yeah.
When he was younger, the
Yeah.
controls were higher. You can't do nothing.
Yeah.
As he got older, we kept relaxing him more and more because the goal is that as he goes towards high school, you're becoming an adult. You have to make, I cannot shield you from the world. Whether I like it or not, one day you're going to interact with the world. And if I wait till you're an adult, you're going to be woefully underprepared. Meaning you're here, you're like, it's like sending you out to go in the woods to go fight a wolf and say, I never taught you how to throw an arrow or use a knife. Whoa,
Right.
I sent you out
Right.
to face the world woefully unprepared. So I've been slowly decreased. Like I said, now it doesn't block. He has to report in to say this is now I don't even look at this stuff. He tells me this is an issue. This is what I'm doing. This is why I did that. Converse with me about it. So yeah.
Right. That's probably the single best advice I've ever heard for kids. And that is set, highest settings, the younger they are. And as they get older, and also as they're sharing with you what they're doing, and you're seeing that they're grasping safety, just like, do you let your kid walk to the store 3 blocks away or a friend's house 3 blocks away? Well, if you feel they've got the savvy, to know to not get in a car with a stranger or to run to somebody's house and ring a doorbell if somebody, approaches them. You give them more freedom when they demonstrate more agency. over their own safety. And I love that you do that directly. In fact, one of the things we miss a lot in our culture is the rituals of going from one stage to another, like, even recognizing adulthood and stuff. We have certain birthdays and things like that do that, but you could actually kind of ritualize this, that every year around their birthday, you can say, okay, because you're older and you've done such a great job this last year of your online safety and your physical safety and stuff, we're going to give you more permissions. And kids love gamification anyway. So you get to reward them with more autonomy the more they show that they're taking care of themselves. I think that's the Uber tip, everybody. For the
I second that. I was going to say that right there is a great tip. So you can model it to say the younger your child is, the more security settings you want to have. But as they get older, with gamification, to say on your birthday, we're going to give you some more freedom. These are the things you get. That way, they can look as I get older, they can feel that they are progressing toward the goal of taking control of their lives
That's their birth.
online.
That's one of their birthday presents.
I like
Greater
that.
freedom, greater autonomy, and greater safety because you're helping take care of them. I love that. That's so awesome.
Indeed.
Oh, Kelvin, this is such great advice. I really appreciate that. If people want to learn more about you and cybersecurity and I, where should they go?
So I would say one, go to csai.pro. This is for my company website.
Okay.
If you want to learn more about how I can help you to understand the human behavior and how it impacts your cybersecurity posture, meaning why what you think and what you do is going to affect how you be secure and your organization as a whole. Again, csai.pro. Um, Other than that, podcast.wise.com. It's going to be podcasts about cybersecurity and health and technology. So if those are of interest to you,
That's so great.
join me there.
So great. Such a wonderful time having you on. So let's recap the tips for everybody. You want to start and then I'll add in what the
Yep.
tips you
So the
so
most
here are the tips that everybody should take away for kids, especially special needs kids.
Yep. So the most important tip would be the younger your child is, the higher the security settings. So start them off fully secure. Then as they get older, we say it's a good idea if you try to make it around their birthdays and you can make it a celebration and gamify it to say, hey, as you get older, we're giving you more control over your life online.
That is so great.
Two, integrate your activities, your online security with your child. So if you're saying you're going to check your social security and you're going to make sure that you have all those tools and you're going to make sure that you update your passwords, well, do it in front of your child. And better yet, do it on schedule because you're going to teach those same ethics and lessons to your child. So I would say that's a good idea there. And three, you got to understand that children are going to be children online. So, with that being said, you have to get involved in their online lives. Don't make them conform to yours, but get involved in theirs. That means you want to have that active dialogue. What they're doing online, just like you want to know what they're doing in school, what they're doing outside, you need to know what they're doing online. So, talk to them about it. Who are your online friends? What are they doing? How often do you talk? Do you do anything? Do you send them any pictures? Do they send you anything? Did they recommend any websites? Anything you should buy? Ask questions and be involved.
That is so great. That is great advice. So many parents pay attention to who their kids are physically meeting with, like they're going to somebody's house or they're talking to kids at school or they're having, or they're getting bullied by somebody at school or they have a new friend or falling in love with somebody at school. But how many of them take the same level of involvement on their online friends? And frankly, they're doing much more online. So you should actually increase that. That is such great advice. Thank you, Kelvin. Such a pleasure having you on. And thank you for being a mental health advocate for our kids. And thank you for setting a great example as someone who's had your own, mental challenges that you've that finally identified as an adult and been able to overcome. Thank you for sharing your gifts and knowledge with all of us. That is so
No
great.
problem. Happy to help. And I will say again, smaller online safety. Everybody, you should join. This is important. This is important. Remember, you're going to get hacked. Get training. You're going to get hacked.
That's true. That's true. It's not if, it's when, right? That something's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Especially with the AI tools that cyber criminals are getting. So, well, thank you so much, Kelvin Green. What a pleasure to have you on. So, everybody, you've learned some tips today. please share them with the parents and your own kids and everybody you know. If this episode's been helpful, please share it. We really want to protect kids, and let's make this Mental Health Awareness Week of Children mean an improved experience for so many kids in our life and in our world. Thank you for being here. And until next time, stay safe out there.